Hello everybody, welcome to episode 46 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is Thursday the 9th of August 2018. I'm going to share all the crafty things that I've been up to with you. So thank you so much for joining me. You can find me on social medias in Instagram and Etsy as Craft House Magic, and I'll pop the links down below if you want to find me there. So what have I got to chat to you about today? So I've got some knitting, some crochet, quite a bit of dressmaking today, some bobbin lace, some quilting as well. And then I've got the normal blast from the past, gadget and confessions. And I'll have a little bit of information on what's going in my shop update, which is tomorrow the 10th of August at 7 PM GMT at the end of the podcast if you want to catch that. If you don't want to listen to it, because it's at the end, you can just give it a miss. So I was chatting to some people at Fibre a couple of weeks ago about having a meet-up in Norwich, and I thought that would be a lovely idea. So I was putting to people on Instagram through the stories section what sort of things you'd prefer, so in the city Norwich or in the outskirts, and people mostly said about going to the outskirts, I think, with parking areas, because it's easier to get to rather than going right into the city. So I think that's what we're going to go for. So if anybody has any suggestions for venues that we could host it at, that would be lovely. I'm looking for sort of a cafe where we can sit quite a few people and we can just sit and knit and eat naughty things. So that would be so lovely. Or not just knitting, crocheting or any other crafts that you can sort of easily transport. A little bit of paper piecing or something. So that would be lovely. So if you have any suggestions on where we could have that, that'd be really interesting, what I'd like to hear from you. And also, I think that we sort of decided that perhaps we should have it on a Sunday. So please let me know if you think that Sunday is a good day as well for having a meet-up, sort of thinking about like 11 till 3, so people can sort of come and go as they please if they've got things arranged already. Anyway, we've got a few sort of Craftalongs going on in the Ravelry group. So like I said, there's a link down below to the Ravelry group if you want to find the group there. It's Craft House Magic. We've got the swim along going on and it's absolutely brilliant. So we're all knitting the, I can't think of the shawl name, the Goldfish Memories shawl by Casapinka. Oh, it's so much fun. So it's a sections shawl, a long section shawl. I can't speak. A long shawl that's split into sections so that you can sort of have a little bit of interest of one different pattern, and then the pattern changes in different sections, and it's so much fun. So come and join us, or even if you don't want to join us, come and have a look at the thread and just see what people have been up to. It's really lovely seeing people's different colour combinations. So not forgetting, the lovely Fee from Flourish Fibres had offered a lovely skein of her sparkly Storm Kitten to go for a giveaway, and this is going to be a prize for the swim along as well. So just wanted to show you that again. So there we are. We've also got the Christmas craft along going on still in the Ravelry group, and we're making things for Christmas and for Christmas gifts, getting everything done before the end of November so that we can relax in December, just do what we like. So come and have a check out. Come and check out all the things that people have been making for gifts and Christmas related things in the Ravelry group for that. And we've also got a sort of general craft along in the Ravelry group if you want to have just a chat about what you've been making. It doesn't have to be knitting. It's lovely to hear what you've been up to as well. So I've put a couple of videos up recently. One was to do with the Cosy Memory blanket part 3, which basically shows you how to do a chevron version of the Cosy Memory blanket. So you've got the centre double decrease in the middle, pointing in one direction and then going in another direction to make like a chevron shape. And I've put some little worksheets that you can download from those videos, so you can have a go as well. And there's also one where it's like a radiating pattern where the centre double decrease goes from the middle, and that shows you how I'd knit it, in which order the squares I'd do. Anyway, it makes it a little bit easier. It's a little bit overwhelming when you first sort of start knitting it and you think, oh goodness, where do I start to get them going in the right direction? But hopefully that'll help you. I'll leave a link in the down below to that as well. And I also did a little video about my little adventure at Fibre, and that was really good. I actually sort of got myself together and made myself do a little video this time. I meant to do it at Yarningham, but I just was like, I wasn't feeling it. So Fibre, I managed to take a few clips anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that. And I also included my sort of confessions that I bought at Fibre in that video. So if you want to see what I bought there, if you tune into that little video, you can see. Let's get into the good stuff. So I will start with my knitting section. Unfortunately, I have no finished objects. I've just got works in progress, so I shall start with what I've been working with the most, I suppose. So I've been working on my Madewell cardigan. This is going to be a bit difficult to show you. So, oh, sorry about the needles. So I've actually done most of the body. It'll probably be easier to look at the back. You can actually see how it's knit up, and I've started doing the rib section at the bottom. So the Madewell cardigan is supposed to be a different rib, but I've chosen to do 2x2 rib just because I really like the look of it, and I think it comes out a lot neater. Well, it does for me anyway. And you can change patterns and do what you like. So there we go. I've got a little bit more of this to knit. I've got 3 inches of the ribbon to knit in total. So that'll come out quite nicely, I think. So so far I've been trying to try it on, even though there's no sleeves or anything, and it seems to be fitting really well. I did end up doing an extra inch on the body because I was just knitting away and I didn't realise how much I'd knit. But I don't think we can have a cardigan that's too long by an inch, so that's fine. So I haven't started picking up the stitches for the sleeves yet. Once I've sort of got one sleeve done, I can show you a bit better how it looks. But this is knitted in my colourway. Oh, I keep hitting these needles on the table, sorry. I've knitted it in my colourway, and it's You Spin Me Round, and this is my merino nylon base, 75% merino, 25% nylon, which I normally use for socks as well, but I thought it might be quite durable for a cardigan. And I've been really naughty. I basically decided that I wasn't going to alternate skeins just to see what it looked like. And I think you can see a little bit that there's a slight difference in some of the areas, but do you know what? I think it shows up more on the camera than it does in real life. But it doesn't actually show up too much. So, but don't follow my lead. I think most of the time it's better to alternate skeins. It's just that I was looking really carefully at the skeins, and I thought, well, they're really, really quite similar. I'm just going to give it a go, see what it goes like. But I think in future I probably should alternate skeins. So don't not alternate skeins. I don't think it's a good idea. It's very risky business, and it's a lot of work putting into garments, to garment knitting. I'm knitting those on the, I think it's 0.5 millimetre more than the suggested needle size, just because that's what needle I got gauge with. And then I'm knitting the largest size. So if I'd have decided to knit the garment in a tighter gauge than the pattern suggested, I'd have had to do all the calculations. And who wants to do that? I just thought, I'll just go up a needle size. And I'm quite happy with how it looks. So there we go, that's my Madewell cardigan. And I forgot to say, actually, the pattern's by Hohi Locatelli, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, sorry. But it's a really lovely pattern, and it's written really nicely, and it's actually quite simple to knit. So if you're knitting your first garment, I think that was a good pattern too. So I talked about earlier that we were doing the swim along, which we're all knitting the Goldfish Memories pattern, and this is what I've got so far. So you can see how it's sort of knitted diagonally, and you're going to be producing a sort of straight piece, but with different sections all the way up, so it keeps your interest. So I'm using my own yarn, and this set I dyed up especially for the Goldfish Memories, and there are a few sets available on my Etsy shop if you're interested in getting one of those. So the bright blue is Love is a Battlefield, and the grey colour that I've used in between so far is where is Here Comes the Rain Again. Sorry, forgetting my own colourways. So this is how the back looks. It's not quite as pretty as the front, but I love the way those little pearl bumps are sticking out on that first section there. So this is the end of section 2, and I'm about to start section 3. And it's lovely I'm dipping the end of my yarn in my tea. That's not a good idea, is it? It's lovely to see how everyone's knitting up in their yarn choices in the Ravelry group. So I've also got a third colour that I haven't joined in yet, and this one is Lace La Bonita, and it's just a speckled blue on a cream base there. And this yarn that I'm using is my singles base because it's a nice drapey material. I am absolutely loving this shawl so far, so I think that will make a really wearable shawl, especially when we're coming up to winter. I was a bit concerned to start with that because you're actually running your yarns up the side of the work, that it was a bit tight, but I think that's going to be okay on that side. And I think it just keeps your interest having different sections. I did sort of say to myself I'd do one section a week because that is 12 weeks till the end of the knit along, because there's 12 sections, but actually I've done 2 already, and I could have done a little bit more if I hadn't got obsessed with dressmaking this week and quilting. So it is easy to achieve, and so because I wanted to make sure that everyone had a good 3 months to do it, so that if you were a slower knitter or you didn't have as much time to knit, you'd have plenty of time to do it. And if there is quite a few people that haven't finished by the end of August, not August, it starts in August, by the end of October, I'll consider expanding it a little bit. So don't worry, it's not a rush. It's all about enjoying the knit. So that's my second work in progress. And I might have cast something else on, but I've bought this yarn a couple of years ago, and I was like, I'm never going to start this shawl if I don't cast it on now and get it going. This is the Ailsling. Oh, I'm going to write it on the screen because I can't say it. This is the start of my Ailsling shawl, and the pattern is by Justina Lorkowska, and this is on my Make 9. So I thought if I cast it on, then I've got it ready to have a go. So I'm using the needles that are required, that it says in the pattern. Can't speak today. And I've got these 2 beautiful colours, like a dusky pink and a sort of a dusky blue colour. And they are Baby Alpaca Silk in the Drops yarns, and they are so soft, so soft. This is going to be amazing. In the pattern, I think it says 400 and something metres of each of the 2 yarns. So I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't have enough by just buying 2 50-gram balls of each. So I actually bought 3 of these to make sure I had plenty. Because I know that Adelaide Cottage was saying that she'd run out of yarn and she had to scrounge a skein off a friend of hers. So I'm so glad I bought 3 of each just to make sure, because I would hate to get to the end but there's beautiful cable around the edge and not have enough yarn. So there we are, and there's these gorgeous little eyelets on there. That is going to be lovely. And for the majority of the shawl, it's quite a simple knit, so I'll be able to sort of do that when I'm knitting at friends' houses and things, so that'll be nice. So 3 works in progress. 2 of them are new. That's a bit naughty, isn't it? I'll just have a sip of my tea. Look, Caroline, I'm using my mug. We're mug twins. Caroline from Love to Sew. Hello. Oh dear. I've noticed, I didn't even realise, my friend Jean says I say oh dear all the time. I do apologise. I'll try not to say it. Hello Jean, I should say. So, right, so we're on to crochet now. I'll just lean across to get my beautiful crochet. Oh my goodness, I love this. I've started joining my little squares together, and this is what I've got so far. I love it. So they're little scraps that I've had left over from other projects, and I've joining them together with a plain undyed yarn in the base, in a merino nylon base that I sell in my shop. And because a couple of people have asked me about it, I actually listed some undyed skeins of this yarn in my shop if you're interested. And it's just because it's a nice creamy white. It's not too white, but it's not too cream either. And I love it. And I have a pile of little squares here to pop in my blanket, so I've got quite a few going already, although I think I'm going to stick to quite light colours. So if you look at these ones, I think this is quite bright really compared to the others, but actually if you compare that to most bright colours, it's not that bright. But I've done these, and I think that these are either too dark or too bright to go in the blanket, so I'll see. I might actually start another one. We'll see if I decide. And I think that might be a little bit dark as well, or a little bit bright, because I wanted to go for a sort of delicate muted colour scheme, because it will go really nicely with my living room then, because I want things to be actually used and sort of go with the decor of our house. So that's how far I've got so far. I would really recommend, so the pattern is Sandra from Cherry Heart's pattern. I will leave a link in the down bar to her website where the pattern is. I would really recommend her tutorials. There's some picture tutorials to how to do the squares, and then she's done a beautiful video tutorial of how to join the squares together as you go. And she basically shows how to join 4 coloured squares to a central square to start with. And I just love the idea of doing this, because then you kind of do a little bit and then that bit's done and then you move on to the next bit, rather than having a massive pile of squares and having to crochet up a big line of them. I think it's much more pleasing to do this. So absolutely wonderful. And Sandra actually watched my podcast last time, so hello Sandra. I'm saying hello to everybody today. So there we go, that's what I've got so far, and I can't really decide of how big I want it, because I'd put it on my coffee table to start with, and I was thinking, oh, wouldn't that be lovely as like a little tabletop, a crocheted cover for the coffee table as well. So we'll see. We might do a smaller one and then start another one as well, because they are addictive. I timed myself, and they take about 11 minutes to do one square. That's how, when I'd done about 8 to start with though, so I'd sort of got in a rhythm. So they take 11 minutes. So I've been doing one just after breakfast before I start work, so that then I have a little bit of pleasure before I start working on my shop stuff. But to be honest, that's fun too, so I don't mind that. And then I do one at lunchtime. Basically, I'm doing at least 2 or 3 a day, when I said to myself, I'll just do one and get on with other things. So that's my crochet section. And we're on to the sewing. All right, Barbara, calm down. She's been desperate to show you what she's been wearing. Come on then. Oh my, Barbara. I love this top. So this is completely new and unexpected. So I bought another metre of this fabric, because I'd had some of this before. And this was from Minerva Crafts, and if I can find it, I'll pop a link to it down below. It's a jersey material, but it's, I don't know if it's made of polyester, I can't remember, I'll pop it up on the screen. And I'd made a long flowing top that I wore to Florida a couple of years ago on our honeymoon. I think it's, no, last year on our honeymoon. We've only been married a year. And I thought that it was a nice material that breathed really well, so I wanted to make something out of it again. And I'd actually made this top before, and I wore it to Fibre East, and I thought, actually, this fit, the shape of this top is really nice, so I'll make one in this fabric. So the pattern is Simplicity 1716, and it is the View E here that I made, but I did actually shorten this because this is a tunic length and it was massively long on me because I'm really short. and I'd actually shortened it for the previous version. I did actually make it long, and then I actually cut a big section off the bottom and shortened the pattern accordingly. And I will actually show you the first version I made in my Blast from the Past bit later, so stay tuned. I love this sort of neck, and it's really flattering on a busty lady. And these floaty sleeves, I really love them on me as well, because it's a short sleeve and it's not too tight, and because it's floaty, it hides the voluptuous arm shape. So there we go. The pattern has a seam down the back of the middle, which gives it its shape actually. It goes out quite a lot at the hips, which is quite flattering on me. And I just love this pattern. I have actually worn this top already. I wore it at the weekend. I made it in I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, because I'd already cut the pattern out and knew which size I wanted, and I knew how to make it because I'd made it previously. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. I made a size 18. Now, when I normally make dressmaking patterns, I normally take a much bigger size, but because this is jersey, and I think some of the simplicity patterns, they give a lot more positive ease than I like, I think the size 18 for me for this it fits really nicely. So there we go. So you look lovely, Barbara. We've got another surprise. As eagle-eyed people of you know, she's wearing a skirt. So I'll make her a bit taller. That is about as tall as Barbara is going to get, I'm afraid. What I'll do is I'll take some pictures at the weekend of me wearing it, and I shall show you properly then. But this is the Miette skirt, and it's a Tilly in the Buttons pattern. Oh, this is going to be difficult to show you, but there are some big pockets there at the front. Because it's dark, it's difficult for you to see the fabric, but there we go. So there's big pockets at the front, and it's got this lovely big tie, which I really like, but it's actually a wraparound, which is really good. So it means that you can go out for dinner and it's not going to be too tight. You can undo it a bit. We like this. Oh dear, I'm doing it again. Oh no. Anyway, I love these big pockets as well. I'm not so sure whether they're sort of deep enough on the very side seam, but I will wear it this weekend and I will let you know how I get on. I'm going to the Festival of Quilts at the weekend, so I'm going to try and see if I can wear this if it's the right weather, and I'll get back to you on how it feels when you wear it. So let's have a look at the back of it. So this bit is completely wrapped over, and the other side comes right over the back. So it definitely, there's a lot of room for an overlap there, so you know that you're not going to show anything you're not wanting to. And it just, feels so comfy, and you only have to fit the waistband basically. So that was just a lovely, easy make. So this is probably the first pattern to start you off on dressmaking if you haven't done it before. Literally last night after dinner, about 7 o'clock, I thought I want to make a Miette skirt. So I printed out the PDF pattern pieces, and I cut and stuck them together with sticky tape, and then I cut the right size. I ended up actually, I'm a little bit bigger than the biggest size of Tilly in the Buttons, but because this pattern is so easy, I just added like an inch to each panel, which is saying how big I am. And it was so easy to adjust there. You can see where the size grades up, and I just added however much I wanted to make it fit me. But to be honest, because it is a wraparound, you could get away with sort of a couple of inches here and there, just as long as you've got enough room to wrap it right over so that it doesn't show your knickers. You don't want to show your knickers. I love the A-line shape of this skirt. I love it so much. It's not too big like a circle skirt, so that it's sort of more flattering than a circle skirt, but I just love this feminine shape. I love it, I love it, I love it. I want to wear it like now, but I wanted to show you it a bit better. And like I say, I will take some video when I'm wearing it this weekend so that I can pop it in the next episode. So there we are. So that's Barbara's little outfit. Gosh, you are tall, Barbara. So that's Barbara's outfit, and I've also finished my ultimate trousers. Oh, what I should say is the Miette skirt is made from a chambray from Minerva Crafts as well. So actually all three of these fabrics are from Minerva Crafts. This next item I'm going to show you. So this is a sort of lightweight chambray, and I think this was a relatively expensive material. I think it was like £9. Well, it's not that expensive, but this was £5 a metre, and I think this was £5 a metre as well. So this is getting on for £10. It's slightly more expensive. So this was from Minerva Crafts as well, and this is a cotton stretch twill, and I showed you these partially constructed on the last episode. So they're the ultimate trousers, and the ultimate trousers by Sew Over It do not have any pockets, and they don't have a zipped front here. They don't come with a waistband to start with, but they do provide you with an extra piece so that you can adapt the pattern. So I adapted the pattern for the waistband. And I used the pockets from a trouser pattern that I'd made for Adam, and it was from the Sewing Bee, the first book that they had. I used the trouser pattern from there. To be honest though, you could use any trouser pattern pockets, just as long as you make them to fit. I did adjust them to be a little bit more curvy at the edges so that they fit my panel pieces. And then I used the zip fly pieces from the trousers as well. I made a zip fly, but what I should have done really is use a zip that matches my material better, but I wanted to make them then and there, and this is the only one I had, and I should have overlapped this slightly more to make a better finish. And I have worn these so that they do look a bit worn around the waist. I have given them a quick press, but this material doesn't press particularly well, but there we go. They do fit really well, which I'm pleased with. So I should be getting some more sort of precious material to make some more trousers out of. They are a cropped length because I thought that would be ideal for summertime, because I'm so short on summery clothes. I just had to make them so that I could wear them, but I have got full pattern pieces to do full trousers for these, so I shall be looking forward to making a couple of pairs of proper trousers for my me-made wardrobe. I don't know whether you remember me saying, but I'm trying not to buy like ready to wear clothes from shops, so that I can make everything myself. This is why I'm making so many dressmaking projects. I haven't had a chance to work on my bra that I showed you on the last episode, just because I wanted to get some summery tops so that I can actually wear some things. So I ended up making this and a bit of a whim really, these two things. But that will make a nice outfit for when I go to the Festival of Quilts on Saturday. If you are at the Festival of Quilts, come say hello. I've got some badges to give out. Right, so that's my dressmaking. Barbara's not coming to the Festival of Quilts, are you, Barbara? I don't think they'd let her in, to be honest. Bye! So, I am going to go on to Bobbin Lace next. So on the last episode, I showed you a Bobbin Lace Christmas ornament that I'd started. And I've actually unpinned it and added a little bell there. I wonder if there's something I can put this up against so that you can see it better. You can see my really cool notepad. I've got Mischief Managed in it. So that's how the little lace turned out. I was a bit worried about this not being stiff enough to hold its own as it's hanging on the Christmas tree, but I think that'll be fine. So this is a Christine Springett pattern, and you can get kits from her website online. I will leave a link below. And it actually comes with a little shape that hangs in the middle there, but it was like a paper craft one, and I wanted it something to be a little bit more permanent, if you know what I mean. So I found this little charm of a bell, and I've just hung it on the top there to finish it off a little bit. I did think about hanging it in the centre, but I quite like it at the top because it's quite a small little charm. So I'll just show you it from the side so you can see how it sort of stands up. So it is quite stiff. It's because I've used a slightly thicker thread than the pattern recommended, so it's even stiffer than you'd expect. You could always put some stiffening spray or starch on it to keep it stiff if you wanted to. So there we go. That's another Christmassy thing done for Christmas next year, or this year I should say. It's not actually that far away. How crazy is that? Ooh. Oh dear. We're getting organised, we're fine. Right, so I've actually got a quilting section that I haven't in ages. I'm going to go and get the quilt because I've had to lay it on the banister of the stairs because it's not that big, but I don't like to crease it too much because I haven't sewn the edges down yet. But just a second. So here we are, here is the quilt. I have actually taken some pictures of this, so I may well have to put those on the screen so you can see it in full, because there's not enough room for me to stand back to show you this properly. So the quilt itself was pieced by my friend Rita. All these pieces were sewn together by Rita, and then I've layered it up. Oh, you really can't see this very well. I've layered it up and quilted it, and I really like this pattern that I've quilted in the middle. It's like a geometric shapes pattern. I love that. I've been wanting to quilt that for ages, and I was actually going to do it with a quilting ruler doing free motion, but I ended up just using the normal just straight stitch on the machine with the walking footwork in so that you can get a nice even stitch. I have put at the side panels, I've echoed it with some quilting that's sort of directional to the centre, and then in the very corner I've also done some stitching quilting just like that. And like I said, I will put a picture on screen so you can see it a little bit better. The back is just a grey plain fabric, and you can see the quilting shows up quite nicely. And then these little red clips are just holding my binding on because I've got to hand sew my binding together, but I'm going to do that in my quilt group when we have a next meeting. But that's actually sewn on, so all I need to do is sew the binding on, and there we go. I've no idea how much you can see because I'm just holding it up randomly. So there we are. Yeah, it'd be much easier if I pop some pictures on the screen. I actually videoed myself layering the quilt up and pinning it together, which I will make into a sort of video tutorial so you can see how I layer my quilt up and keep it from sort of creasing so you don't get puckers when you're quilting. So I forgot to say the wadding that I've used in there is a 80-20, 80% cotton, 20% polyester wadding, and it gives it a nice drapey feeling to it. And all the fabrics I've used are cotton fabrics, nice good quality quilting cotton fabrics. I think that the front panels were made from a Moda charm pack, but I'm not 100% sure what the charm pack was called, so I'm sure some of you will have recognised it. I think it was out maybe a couple of years ago, so it's a little while since it's been in print or whatever they call it. So there we are, that's all the makes that I've been up to since the last time I spoke to you, and I'll talk to you a little bit about Blast from the Past. So I said that I'd show you the t-shirt, the first version I made of the 1716 pattern, that the blue grey one that I showed you on Barbara. Well, this is the first one I made, but unfortunately I made it out of a very see-through material. You can see me through it. If I wear a black bra you can't really see it, but it doesn't feel like a really nice quality to material, and when I wear it I don't enjoy wearing it as such, but it does look a nice fit on me. So I have been wearing it a little bit, but now I've got a new version. I can make a few more versions as well. That'll be better. So this is a very, very lightweight jersey fabric that I picked up from eBay, I think. So it's just a lesson to me to actually buy fabrics from reputable companies, or buy them and feel them in person before I actually purchase things. But there we go. What I did with that one that I did slightly differently actually compared to the newer one I did, as I did a rolled hem on this fabric because it was so lightweight. I used my cover stitch machine to hem the sleeves and the bottom, which I was really pleased with. I'm definitely getting to grips with my cover stitch machine better, especially because that fabric, the blue grey fabric, is quite a nice sturdy fabric and it doesn't slip too much, and it just sewed it without a problem. It was so lovely to sew with, so lovely to sew with. There we go. So I have a gadget that is related to quilting this time. So when I was layering up my quilt, I actually got to use my little gadget that I bought ages ago. I haven't laid up a quilt for ages, or not, at least not one that's big enough to actually require pinning as such. And I used this little quick clip tool, and I use, I'll show you the pins I tend to use. These are quite thick ones, so I'm hoping to get some thinner ones as well. So I use safety pins like this to pin my quilt together before I quilt it. And to actually pin a quilt that's relatively big, it's much easier to use this to lift the pin part, the sharp part of the pin, up so that you can fasten the pin, if that makes sense. So I'd scoop the fabric up, and then I'd use this tool just to lift it into the closed position so that it was secure and it wouldn't come undone. And using this compared to not using it saved my fingers a hell of a lot. So if you do use those sort of safety pin method, or the sort of bent safety pin method of pinning your quilt together, one of these is brilliant. So it's called a quick clip, and I picked this up from, I think, the Quilt show or the Knitting and Stitching show a year or two ago, and this is the first time I've actually used it, but oh my goodness, so much easier than having to lift those pins with your fingers. I used to get little dents in my fingers all the time. So there we go. I am going to go on to the confessions section. I know that I already have confessions from my Fibre video, which you can see on that separate video, but I also have been a bit naughty as well. I went round my friend Jean's house and she had this yarn, and I thought, oh, I need it. It's beautiful. So this is Hedgerow Yarns in the looping colourway. This is one of the Flower Power Fund yarns, and I'm really sorry. I know that it's actually July's, so if you haven't got hold of yours, I don't think that she's going to be selling it anymore. I don't know, maybe if you contact her she might do. But it's a beautiful pinks with little speckles of different colours in, and it came packaged so beautifully, absolutely gorgeous. If I remember, I'll pop a picture up here of how it was packaged, with some beautiful lavender in it. Absolutely love Jane's yarn. It's one of my favourites. And I hadn't bought any for ages, so I needed some. Oh, lovely. Anyway, I got a skein of yarn, and I was also a bit naughty. I ordered a beautiful embroidery pattern. So this is from the Stitchery. Oh, and goodness me, they do some really beautiful patterns. But I thought that this would go really nicely on the wall in my living room. So what I'm trying to do is, instead of just going, oh, I fancy making that, I'm thinking, oh, that would go really nicely in this room or whatever. So I just don't end up making loads of things that I don't know where to put. So this is what I bought. So it's beautifully made. It came tied up in this beautiful little strip of delicate fabric. I've opened it obviously and I've ruined it. And it comes with all the threads that you need, and a beautiful piece of linen with the design printed on it so that you don't have to trace your design or anything. And it's a really lovely quality thick linen. And then you get little cards with your instructions on, and stitching instructions as well. It's beautifully drawn. I don't want to show you too much because it's obviously paid for, but it's the artwork. Oh, lovely. Definitely recommend the Stitchery designs. I am hoping to get that started this week so I can show you how I've got on with so far. Oh, it's so pretty though, and lovely. It's just so nice. The paper as well, it's that sort of, what do you call it, thick watercolour paper or something. Oh, absolutely stunning. Absolutely beautiful. So I will be doing that. I think the Stitchery also does a thing where you can have a different design sent to you each month as well, which I was very tempted to do. but I thought I'll just have a go at this one first and see how I get on. I think it's about £20 for the design, but I think it's really worth it because the work that they've put into putting this pack together, that's really beautiful. And it just came so nicely in a little box as well. So I can't wait to start. So I think it's just on to Shop Update now. So if you're not interested in listening to Shop Update, I hope to see you again next time. And I hope you have a lovely crafty couple of weeks until then. So the shop update is tomorrow, the 10th of August at 7 p.m, British Summer Time. And I'm going to have quite a few yarns. So on the last update, the kits for the socks for the Merry Christmas Everyone went really well, so I've dyed up another load of those. You can have the additional mini skeins that goes with it if you want to, but you can opt just to have the skein, because I know sometimes people don't like contrast heels and toes for knitting socks, and this yarn is designed to have a micro stripe of green and then white and red, so that's what I designed this for. I'm hoping to actually knit some of those up myself as well. I'll have some more of the Walking in the Air sets, which is a lovely pale blue which represents the sky and the clouds and the little footprints in the snow from the snowman, so that's another Christmassy one. And then I do have some non-Christmassy ones. I've got another batch of the Over the Rainbow yarns, some more You Spin Me Round like I knitted in my cardigan. And I have a new colourway that I've been dyeing up. So this one is going to be called Be My Baby, and it's another Dirty Dancing related colourway. So I've already done She's Like the Wind, and Be My Baby would go really well with it, but I haven't actually got any of the She's Like the Wind with me at the moment, but I'm hoping to get some of that dyed up before the update on Friday as well. So there we go. It's a really lovely pale pink colour, and then I'll give you the option to purchase a nice creamy yarn to go with for heels and toes if you wanted to. So there we go. So that's all the yarns that I'll have in the shop. I'll also have a new bag design, and this is going to be, I'll actually give you the choice to whether you want a drawstring or a zipped version of this bag, but it's got a lovely little butterfly that I've got free motion stitching on around the butterfly, and do some lovely little swirls from where he's been flying around. And then on the back it's got my normal Craft House Magic, and then I've done a little free motion butterfly on the back as well, and it's lined with a nice sort of dusky blue in there. And what I tend to do with these bags is have a pocket all across the back so that you can put pin badges in there if you want to. And on the talk of pin badges, I finally got my own enamel ones. So I've got two designs. I've got my Craft House Magic sign, which I designed myself, and then Barbara's got her own one as well. She's very pleased about that. I shall show you what they look like without being in the plastic. So I've got some on my bag already, and there's Craft House Magic and Hey Barbara. Barbara had to be a bit sparkly, didn't she? So it says Hey Barbara on there, and Barbara's a little oval shape, and I actually took a photograph of Barbara and I traced round her shape, so that actually is Barbara in that photograph, or not, in the drawing. So there we go. So those two pin badges will be available in my shop, and what I've chosen to have is a rubber stopper on the back, because that's what I personally prefer. I find that if you do have them on a bag where you are knitting and you haven't got some sort of protection between your knitting and the back of the pin badge, they're less likely to get caught on these, and I just like the feel of them better. I just don't like the metal clasp very much. So there we go, a nice little rubber clasp on the back, and I love how they come with little cards. Anyway, I'll stop gushing about those. And I have a few Christmas bags I've put in the shop. I've got quite a large one with Merry Christmas on the back, which has got, I've got some green ones, but ones with red lining in as well. I've got a load of sock size bags, which are in various prints. I've got a poinsettia, I love this print. It's a little snowman. I've been looking for more of this fabric so I can make myself a Christmas dress from it. Some little presents and then some mittens as well. So those are all sock size ones and they've all got bells on. And then I've got a sort of autumnal bag, which is slightly bigger, which has green inside, and then you can have an optional DPN case, which I've put as a separate listing. And I have some bag sets where I've got a sort of medium-sized bag that comes with a DPN case and a little notions pouch, and they also come with some stitch markers as well, and these got belts on too. So I've got two designs of fabric for those, one with little stockings on and one with Father Christmases on. And then I've just got some separate listings for these sort of traditional prints of Christmas DPN cases as well. So those will be in the shop update on Friday the 10th, which is tomorrow at 7 PM. I've talked about everything that is going in the shop update, so thank you so much for watching the podcast and sticking right till the end. So I shall be back in a couple of weeks with another podcast, but in the meantime I shall be uploading the tutorial on how to layer up your quilts and pinning them together ready for quilting, and hopefully I'll take some video on the quilt show, the Festival of Quilts, which will be in Birmingham. I'm going on Saturday. So I shall take some video of there, and I'll either upload it as a separate video or tag it on the end of the next podcast. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!